All right, guys, welcome back. So now we have our text scale. It's time to make text styles. This is very similar to what we did with color styles. Basically, we're plugging our text into Figma, so it has our our presets saved. Why is this important? It helps us stay consistent throughout all of our designs, and consistency, as we know, is key. So let's hop over into Figma and have a little bit of fun. All right. Make sure we got that. Okay. So we've got our type scale here. We're going to go off of this more detailed type scale just for the sake of making our lives easier. Now, I want to point out, you'll notice I did a lot of things differently between these type scales. In this one, I gave a very quick example of what H1, H2, H3 might look like. In the previous one, I gave an example that shows every letter of the alphabet, right? The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Why is that important? It shows exactly what I just said. It shows what every letter is going to look like. It gives us an idea of how this might look in context. It is not a bad idea to have both of these at your disposal. You know, this one gives kind of that developer information, whereas this gives more of a visual representation as to what we might be looking for as a designer. So I would definitely recommend you have both of these on hand. But for what we're doing right now, I'm just going to focus on this because we're putting in more of that developer information into Figma. So if you remember, as we went through, we made it so each of these headers for each part of the type scale is actually the font we're using. So this font right here, you can see is 30 pixels, 30 pixels. It's our hex code for our color, line spacing, everything's the same, it's bold. So this is an example, a very short example, not quite what we have over here, but this is a very short example of what we're putting in. So I'm going to select this text, okay? And now I'm gonna go through the same process, almost click for click that I do for my color styles. We're gonna come over here, instead of playing in fill, we're gonna come to text. You'll recognize it also has that 4-dot button. We're going to click on that and you'll see text styles. We don't have any right now. Again, we could bring some in from a library, but we want to make new ones. So I'm going to hit that plus button. And this first one, we have H1 for the developer side, or maybe we'll call this our title or header one. Just for consistency, I'm just going to call this H1, okay? Now, you can call this whatever you want. Just make sure it makes sense to you. It makes sense to your other designers. It makes sense to anyone who might come onto this file. But for simplicity's sake, I'm going to call this H1. When I design personally, I think in terms of H1, H2, H3. I don't think so much title, subtitle, header, subheader. I've tried to get into that mindset, so it makes my communication with those developers and that handoff process a lot smoother. So I'm going to do the same thing with H2, H3, and so on. And one thing to note, the labeling system works exactly the same through all of Figma. So if I was to add a slash, I would be making a subcategory or a group. So for example, maybe I have, I'm going to use H1 and H2 for titles, but they're different sizes of titles. I can do title slash H1, title slash H2. And what that will do is over here, it will make a group for titles. And then maybe we'll have a group for headers or a group for body text, something like that. And that is something I should have included in this type scale when I made this originally, was a body text. Maybe we'll replace this H5 with body just so we have that there. Because when you're coding, your H's and your body are a little different. H stands for header or heading. Body text is going to be often done with paragraph tags. So we're just going to leave that as body. We'll go back through and we'll finish putting these in. And you know, I just realized I haven't actually set this up completely properly yet. If you look through, all of these are the same size, which is not what we want. This needs to be 24. So I'm actually going to come in here and I'm going to edit that text style and make that 24 pixels. And I need to do that with the rest of these as well. I apologize. I should have been a little more prepared on that. I just got so excited to talk to you guys again that I didn't do my job. 16 and 12. Now the reason I'm not editing these ones in the text style, just in the font display here, is because I haven't made them into text styles yet. If I was to edit these two or this one, I would have to, or not this one, I haven't made this one yet. I would have to do it in the text styles. So now that those are accurate, let's finish labeling these. This is not a hard thing to do. Clearly, it's very quick and simple. The thing that makes it hard is if you don't already have it organized in a way that you can just click and pull it in. If you have to go through each one and try to find an example or try to set it up a different way, it gets a little more complicated. Whereas I've laid this out in a way that it's right here. I have all my information if I need to make a change, and I can just throw it right in. It makes my life very simple, very quick, and I can move on. Call this body. Okay, so much like color styles, now I have access to all of these on our little side panel here. If I was to go in to part of my design and start typing something in, we'll say the quick brown fox, you know the rest. I can select that text and I can say, I want that to be my body text, or I want that to be my H2. And you can go through and select it that way. This helps keep things consistent through your entire design. And the nice thing is, let's see, I've got this set at H1 right now. If I was to come to my master here and I take H1, or heck, I can even do it from here. Let's do this. If I come into H1 and I click on this little edit button and I change from 30 to 40, it changes every instance of that H1 text size to 40 pixels. So now I don't have to go through my entire design and update every single instance of that text. I can just do it in one quick process, right? And the same works for color styles. If I have a color style that is applied through my entire design, let's show a quick example of this. Let's say I've got this rectangle here and I applied my primary one, okay? If I go into my color styles and I edit primary one and I want this now to be green, every instance that that primary one is used is going to be changed. So I don't have to do it manually, which saves me so much time and so much stress, and I can move on to more productive things. So that's how text styles work. We've got two of our three. We've got color styles, we've got text styles. There's a couple more things we're going to go into, components and grid systems. We're going to do that in the next video though. So I will see you guys in just a second.